Hey, how's it going? So picking up where the last video kind of left off, it's mid-November to mid-December, and during that time period some really cool things happened to me. One, I had a birthday and I turned 40. Getting fun's not that great, but it does prove that even at this age you can always pick up, I'm not that old, but it does prove, like, you know, you're never too old to start something. 39, just learning programming for the first time in my life. Another cool thing that happened, my wife got me a new phone, which got me thinking about different ways that I can produce and shoot videos, which is super cool. I also begin streaming The Witness at this time. I'm still streaming it every Sunday at 7, so if you want to come hang out and help me figure out how to solve these puzzles, please come on by the stream. Up next I'll be doing Lorelei and the Laser Eye, which I'm super excited for. I hear nothing but good things about it. It's supposed to be a really good, like, notepad-writey kind of puzzle game. And if you have any suggestions for games or puzzle games that you think I might like, let me know if you have any good suggestions. So back in November, I had gotten that feedback. The feedback was so good, but it really did point out that I really needed to rethink a lot of what I was doing. There was a lot of jank, a lot of disparate ideas that I felt like they would make sense, and in my head they did, but when other people saw them, they were just not connecting right. And so I wanted some time to really think about my approach and what I was doing, but I didn't want to stop working on the project, because I know from experience, long breaks of thinking about something can really slow down your motivation and that kind of momentum you have. And so, you know, I had this great book, Game Programming Patterns by Robert Nystrom, and I wanted to try out some of the patterns in there to help me better structure my code and have a better understanding of how to structure those things, because it's something that I really struggle with. You know, looking through my code, it had what I would call tutorial spaghetti. Basically, it was a bunch of different tutorials that I had watched, taken that code as I had done the tutorial and then crammed them together. But it wasn't really, I didn't understand what those things were doing. And so by taking some of the examples from this book and then using them to make up some of the smaller parts that I knew I was going to need in the game, it really helped me better develop an understanding of structure, or how I should be thinking about implementing my code. And so I built a achievement handler using the observer pattern, and then I used the command pattern to build an input handler, which in Godot, they have a built-in input function, so building a command pattern to handle inputs is kind of redundant in my opinion, but it was still good to learn how that pattern works and to work it out based on the example in the book. It was also really good because the example in the book are in C, and so this was a way for me to look at a different coding language and try to just understand the principles behind why it was structured, and then implement that in GD script. So while I was working on developing those two smaller modules, I was also thinking about narrative development, because I know I wanted a narrative. I know that it's going to be set in this warehouse, and that I want the narrative to be part of the puzzle, because I want everything in the game to be have a puzzle element to it. And during this time, I was able to play the Case of the Golden Idol, which is this excellent game where you are gathering keywords, and then once you gather all these keywords, you have to organize them into these questionnaires, and when you get them in the right order, it develops the narrative and explains kind of what's going on. It helps you solve the case. And the way that it's structured, you as the player feel so smart as you are deducing, based on this limited set of information, the answer. And it's such a smart way of making the player feel intelligent, the player feels smart, and I really liked it. And it was like a light bulb went off. It's like, that is a perfect thing that I want the player to feel as they go through the narrative. It really makes you want to read that narrative and pay attention to it. And so that really inspired me to integrate it into the dialogue system and really use something similar to that, where you are collecting keywords and then having to use them in some kind of questionnaire form, because it really does highlight the player's ability to deduce things. Once I had kind of figured that out, I was still kind of finishing up on those little modules that I've been working on, and I knew that another thing that I was going to need was a dialogue system or something to handle the dialogue. And instead of trying to find a pattern that I could use, I was looking at add-ons and third-party software that I could use. I looked at Clyde and I looked at Dialog as the two main add-ons that I wanted to use. And Clyde is a separate language with a plugin that lets Godot interpret it, I think. And that was kind of a turn-off. But Dialog, it was built in Godot, and so it was much easier to go in through the different scenes and the different codes, and I kind of understood it better so I could manipulate it better. And that was really exciting. The one thing that I was a little bit worried of is Godot was designed for visual novels, and so there's a lot more there than I really need, and sometimes, or my experience in the past, that those kind of things can make it more difficult for me to understand what's going on in the code. It can make it harder for me to find out where things are so that I can manipulate it to do what I want. Once I finished with the modules, I'm playing around with Dialog, trying to see what it can do. And I'm also going through and doing a bunch of research on UIs and trying to figure out what do I want this to look like when you're having these conversations? How do I envision this actually playing out? And the UI that I kept thinking about and coming back to is the one from Disco Elysium. One, the game's amazing, and the way that they handle the inner monologue with the character and just the way it all works together with the art style is just so well done and so striking. But that idea of having a history that you can see as you talk through these long narrative sessions makes it able for you to actually read and understand what's going on, because you can just look up and see like, oh, okay, he just said that, which is great. And also it's all voiced, which means that you don't have to read all the things, and the voice acting.
Good, it makes him forget the whole Kimball memory.
It was a stereo investigation after all. It has now converged with our main investigation.
Acting is so engaging that it makes getting through so much narrative expose quite pleasurable and quite engaging, actually. And so something like that was what I was thinking, but without such long-winded things and with clickable keywords that you could then gather in an inventory, like a vocabulary or a dictionary or something, and then use in questionnaires, kind of like the Golden Idol. To people who write scripts, how? Just please help me out. Tell me, how do you... it's so hard to like wrap your head around just not even the idea of a character, but like the way that they interact with each other so that it reads as being natural or having a certain tone. So after all that stuff, I'm starting to feel pretty good about where I'm at with all these different programs and all these different systems that I've broken down, and I'm ready to start to try to bring them together into what I want the game to be. But I know before I do that, I really want to sit down and I want to figure out, what is that loop? What am I going to try to build? You know, am I going to do another prototype, or is this going to be more of a vertical slice? And so I go back to Canva and I kind of lay out how I think this thing is. And I struggle a little bit here because in one sense, I feel like I should build something small so I can quickly iterate over it. But in the other sense, I feel like I should just try to, instead of isolating each individual thing and then putting them together, like with the modules, I almost feel like it would be better to just build a thing out to get. I still struggle with this. But that's a lot of stuff. We'll get into that next time. So thanks so much for following along with the project and making it this far into the video. I really appreciate it. If you have any suggestions, advice, any recommendations, please share them in the comments down below. If you want to stay updated on your progress, you can hit the subscribe and the bell icon button thingy. And if you want to come hang out with me, I'm playing puzzle games every Sunday at 7. I'd love to have you come say hi, help me figure out some of these puzzles. I'd love to see you there. So thanks so much. See you all in a week. Bye.